Welcome to Django's Garage. Here today in a really snowy West Yorkshire, we're in Home Firth. We're looking at mine and my friend's Venturi Atlantique 300. I thought I've got to do this video because, you know, we're going to sell the car, and before we sell it we want to sort of share with you, you know, how good this car is really. It's the nearest I can compare it to is basically a Ferrari 355 in looks and shape and size, and maybe a Lotus Esprit V8 or the 2.2 turbo. Venturi is a French supercar sort of from the 90s. They sort of came out very late 80s, early 90s. But this model is one what I've always, you know, admired as a teenager, and I thought one day, you know, it'd be nice just to see one on the road. But, you know, in my wildest dreams, never thought of owning one. And we bought it about 3 or 4 years ago, and it's been an absolute pleasure to drive around France and just do track days in and just car shows. People just don't know what it is. But the odd person who just sees it and says, "Is that a Venturi?" And you go, "Yes, it is." And you know, you've got 2 hours of talking about it. So I thought I'd do a little review about the car. So this one is a 300 turbo. They did do a 98, late 99 model bi-turbo. I think the UK only ever had 2 to 3 of them cars. I did actually own a bi-turbo at one point, and I sold it to a gentleman in Greece. I didn't like it as much as this one, even though it looked identical and everything. It was just, the way it delivered the power was a bit soulless. It was very clinical, whereas this is a little bit turbo lag and it's a little bit more fun to drive. So we'll do a walk around with the car, and then we'll go through the interior and all the little features of car it has, and we'll take it out for a spin. At the rear of the Venturi, it's just got beautiful lines, just like every other angle of the car. Some of you may notice it's got Sierra Sapphire backlights. Obviously it's a parts bin car from other cars of that sort of 1990s era, so you'll have maybe the BMW brakes, some Peugeot 205 bushing, but one of the most obvious features on the external side is the Sierra backlights, what some people's notice. This one has a twin sports exhaust system from the factory. Whether it gives it any more power or not, makes it out. I've only seen about 3 Venturi Atlantique 300s, but this is the only one with a 4-pipe exits. It still has catalytic converters on this car, with it being a 1998 model. You've got a boot here, and you've got the engine, which is a 3-litre PRV unit with a turbo, pushing out around about 280 horsepower. It's a nice little unit, mid-mounted. It's very similar to the Lotus and the Ferrari 355. Let's have a look inside the boot. There's a little catch on the driver's side, and that releases the boot. It's actually really good for storage. A lot of the mid-mounted cars of this era, the Lotus and the Ferrari, they don't have a rear boot, whereas this has got a rear boot, so it's really well thought out. Comes with a factory fire extinguisher. We've got a few little bits in there just in case, you never know when it might break down. There is a lever what releases the engine bay. There's a PRV unit, turbo housed under the heat shield, lovely Venturi logo. It's nicely tucked away, you can get to nearly everything on top of the engine. There is a little panel behind the rear glass inside the cabin where you can remove a panel and you can get to the other side of the engine, what you can't get to from the outside, which is quite well thought out. So it's not always an engine out job on this car. And with the 355 you would have to drop the engine every 2 to maybe 3 years for a belt change. This one's train drive, so there's no major engine out service. It's just leave it in situ unless you're doing something really big like a water pump. But you can just leave it where it is, not worry about it, and not have the high maintenance costs you would have on a 355. To open the front storage compartment, there's 2 levers on the driver's side just under the dash. You just pull them, and that releases the catches, and it nicely springs up. This is the other advantage with this car, is the amount of storage you get. So it's a little bit less than a Lotus and a 355 would add in their front boot, but you get the rear boot as well, so this makes it a really usable car. You can go away for 2 weeks touring around Europe, get all your luggage. You can even get all your camping gear into this car, would say, you know, you get an easier 3-man tent in there and your sleeping bags and all your luggage. So I think this wins over the Lotus and the Ferrari on the storage capacity. Also, the body shell is fiberglass composite, so it's equal to the Lotus. It's not going to rust, whereas a Ferrari is aluminium and steel shell. So this is probably better for the bodywork as well. If you look at the suspension top mounts, they're rose jointed, coilover shock absorber from the factory is standard. Under the component down here you will have your battery, so you can lift that out and you can get to your battery and other parts of the suspension. So it's really well thought out. It's a bit like a race car really, because they used to do the 400 Venturi GT Trophy Cup for the Gentleman Series. So this is sort of a development from that series. Yes, it's less power, it's only a 300 whereas the other one's a 400, but it's thought out like a racing car but as a GT Gentleman Tourer. A couple of other little things I would like to show you around the car is the fuel filler cap. It's nicely hidden behind this little panel. You just flip it out and you can twist it off and fill the car up. It's just nicely hidden. A lot of cars make a feature, show it. I think it's nicely hidden. It has got twin tanks, one either side of the engine. It's really well balanced. It fills only from this side. Not sure about the left-hand drive cars, whether it's opposite sides or whatever, but it has a balance pipe between the two tanks. So that's a nice little feature. And because it's a 1990s car and the safety legislation hasn't come in yet, it had the pop-up headlights, which is just a lovely feature. So we'll pop them up so you can see them. Look at that, pop-up headlights. You know, it's everyone's dream. Right, to the inside of the car. Storage again. This is where I think this car's so good. You've got the little glove box up there. You've got this lovely service document book. The downside, all the English ones, it was in French. So you have to learn French to know what's wrong with your car. There's also, what I keep forgetting about because I keep losing my documents, the hidden glove box. So if you're ever going to look at a Venturi, just have a look in there when you buy one. You never know, you might find a pair of driving gloves or maybe some French francs from the old days. Also, you get these lovely drivers and passenger door bins. You'll get, you know, your phones in there, CDs, tapes, whatever you want to carry with you. Whereas in a 355, it's just a leather pocket. You got your electric window switches. You've also got electric mirrors on this car. You've got central locking. You've got your 5-speed gearbox, normal handbrake position. You've also got climate control, whereas I believe the European models didn't get the climate control, just got basic dials, whereas this actually got climate control. You've got your fog lights, rear fog lights, heated rear screen, and your stereo. Non-standard, but we needed something that played CDs and a Bluetooth on. We've also got this lovely piano black dashboard with the speedo, the rev gauge, we've got the fuel gauge and the oil water temperature. We also have a oil pressure, an oil temperature and a boost and a fuel gauge, which we put in extra just to replace a couple of gauges, just so we had a little bit more information on the long journeys we did. But just look at these beautiful seats. We've got leather wingback seats with the Venturi logos in and this Alcantara inserts. It's not my colour choice. If I was having the car, I'd probably have these in a tan or a black leather, but I really like these seats. In a Ferrari 355, you could have an optional extra of a carbon wingback racing seats, I call them. Obviously these seats haven't got the harness holes in, but they're really comfortable, really nice. They also have electric recline. There's another slot there, that's probably for a heated seat option maybe. Never seen one with a switch in that section. So the next part of the video, in part 2, we'll be taking it out on the road and we'll be explaining how it feels to drive. So please subscribe, tick that bell, and we'll see you on the next video where we take it out. Thank you very much for watching.